Hello everyone. I first saw this tag this morning on Candy, Soul, and Soil. And I said, I've got to do this. And then I went and looked at Kelly Bear's because this is her very first tag. It's hashtag Tarot Winter Wardrobe. And so I went and looked at Kelly Bear's as well. And there's already been a few made, and I think I looked at everybody's. And I don't think the decks that I'm going to choose, I didn't see them in any of those videos. So this is my wardrobe. So you have pieces of your wardrobe, of your winter wardrobe, to correspond with different decks. And you can use a deck or decks, she said. So number one is your base layer or your thermals. And this is which deck or decks are foundational to your tarot practice and why is it. So my absolute very first tarot deck was given to me a long time ago, and I played with it is what I did at the time, not really understanding tarot. And I guess at that time I really I don't know, I guess I didn't connect with it at that time, but I've kept the deck over the years. This is from the first printing of the Mythic Tarot. So this is a 1986 deck of the Mythic Tarot. And this was my very first tarot deck. And when my friend, Weather Shaman ASMR, Katie, introduced me to crystals, and then once I started down the rabbit hole of crystals, we was looking at some things in my room, and we ran across this deck and another one that will also be foundational here in just a moment. And she said, do you know what you have here? And I'm like, no, not really. And so then I went to doing homework on what I had. And I noticed that when I picked up the cards, it was like I felt, I don't know if I want to say different, but I could feel something from the cards. And so I started delving in. And the other deck that she saw that really made her react the way she did is the Native American tarot deck. And as you can see, it doesn't have a top anymore, and the bottom's a little raggedy. This belonged to my late husband, John. And I kept it because it was his. And as you can see, it was well loved and well used. But that never became a part of our marriage. He died some time ago, so this did not become a part of our marriage. And again, I held on to it over the years. And so this actually, more so than the Mythic Tarot, I felt a connection to these cards. And I don't know, at the time, I thought it was a connection to John. I I'm not sure if it was a connection to John or if it was a connection to the cards. And this deck is actually what made me start doing the homework, because I used the little white book, and I had a little bit of difficulty determining between this suit, which I think is the pipes, and I think the pipes are the wands. Yes, the pipes are the wands. And this group, which is the hatchets, or the blades, which are the swords. I kept confusing them. And it created a lot of problems for me. And I was like, this is not going to work. So, yeah. But that's what started me down the rabbit hole into the world of tarot. And so then I was like, okay, well, this deck I don't remember at all. And this deck isn't really my deck. And I wanted, by this time, I wanted to learn. And so I went to looking at different decks. And so the first deck that I bought, I thought, well, I noticed this one had keywords. And I'm like, well, that'll help me learn. And so I got the Enchanted Soul Tarot. And I started watching YouTubes, and I run across Boho Tarot, and she was doing modifications. And I have little small hands, and this deck was so big, as you see, it is still too big for my hands. And I trimmed off the borders on 3 sides to try to make it smaller for me to work with. And this was my very first modification. I didn't do too bad for it to be my first one. But this was a big piece of me learning, using the keywords at the bottom. That helped me learn. And I looked at the images, but I started making the connection between that particular picture and what the keywords said. And then I noticed everybody kept talking about RWS, and I'm like, well, what in the Sam hell is RWS? And so I started looking into those. And I come across again another deck that had keywords. And I said, okay, this I can put and this is the Apprentice Tarot deck. The Apprentice Tarot deck. And so this is where I learned to put the RWS images with the keywords. And this was my true aha moment. I went to making the connection with what I was seeing and the words that I was reading. And then when I saw other decks, then they made sense to me because they was based off of this one. So from here on out, I would have to say a good 90 to 95% of my decks are RWS clones. They just are. They're easier for me to read. It's the only system I have learned. I have not delved into Thoth or Marseille yet. And so this is where I delved in. So these are my thermals. And then the second prompt is your ugly Christmas sweater. And the ugly Christmas sweater is a novelty deck that gives you joy. And I kind of hate to put this because it says ugly Christmas sweater, and I don't think this deck is ugly. I think it's absolutely precious. But this is the baby way of the panda. This one was bought for me. My niece bought this for me. She liked the pandas. And her auntie was interested in tarot. So I have the baby way of the pandas, which I'm tickled with because they fit my hand. But even though they're pandas, I love the temperance cards. Even though they're pandas, they still fit the Rider-Waite system. So that makes it easy for me to work with. Our next layer of clothes is our winter coat. And the winter coat is your workhorse deck, or that's most used. And for me, the first deck that fit this category is Sawyer's Path by Jamie Sawyers. I just love the bright colors. I love her representation of the Rider-Waite system. She has since made a new edition, her take on the 1909 Rider-Waite cards, and I do have those as well. But this has started out being my first workhorse. Every time you turned around, this is what I was using. I was drawn to this, and I just thought they was the most beautiful thing there was, and I still think they're absolutely gorgeous. However, watching YouTube the way that I do and other creators and their things, I saw or kept hearing about this deck, and the name of it put me off a little bit, and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know, it just made me disinterested. And then I saw a walkthrough of it, and I said, oh, I got to look at that. and I bought me one. And this is my favorite deck out of all of my decks. And this might hurt. I absolutely love this deck. This deck is easy for me to read. I mean, it's just right there. It's still, as you can tell, a clone. It's a RWS clone, but it's with a modern twist, a more modern take on the cards. And I absolutely just connect so easy to this deck. This was the only deck I used for the month of November. I'm now currently using a Christmas deck for the month of December, and to be perfectly honest, I can't wait to get back to this one. So that's my other workhorse deck. That brings us to our snow boots. Now, our snow boots is a deep dive deck that you can really sink into. What makes it so interesting, okay, well, I've already told you that I own 2 of her decks. So now you fixing to see a third one. Again, this is Jamie Sawyer's, and I just got this deck, and I really haven't gotten into it yet like I want to. But this is the Pocket of Peers, and I can't wait to do a deep dive into this deck and study it, because she chose different people, different creators, and different people associated with Tarot Tube and the tarot community that I can't wait to find out who these people are and why she chose to put them on the cards that they are on. That is so fascinating to me, and I can't wait to take on that task. And so that's going to be my task in 23, is to deep dive into this card. I want to see, you know, when I read about different creators, or I see a deck and, you know, well, so-and-so, you know, did that deck, they'll be represented. I'm thinking the majority of them are going to be represented in this deck in some way, and I can't wait to see that and to learn about that. Okay, and this brings us to our hat, which is a deck that twists your noggin, or that you struggle to connect with or to understand. Okay. It's not that I don't connect with it. For me, this is more of a, I don't understand some of, I just don't understand, what, I guess, what I have. This is the Spirit Allies Oracle, and it is by Jill Pyle and Sydney Backert, illustrated by J.K., 60 card deck and guidebook. It gives you goddesses, crystals, herbs, and animals, I think, and zodiac. Let me see if that's correct. I know there's at least 4 groups, possibly 5. Goddess allies, crystal allies, plant allies, animal allies, and cosmic allies. So, there are a lot of these. I don't have a clue. Like Aramid. I don't know who Aramid is. I need to learn. And I think that's my problem connecting with this. This is going to be another deck that I'm going to have to do a deep dive of. They're beautiful. I mean, the deck itself, I mean, that's the back. And they have the silver foil on the side. And, I mean, they're beautiful. It's a beautiful deck. But it's just, I have problems connecting with some of these images. There's tiger's eye. I know what that is. When we get into the plants, that's where I get lost. That's the first place. I get lost with the goddesses. I know right many of the crystals, thanks to Katie. I get lost again when we get into plants. Some of the plants I recognize, some I don't. I do okay in the animals. And I do okay with the zodiac symbols, but there's some other cosmic allies other than the zodiac here that creates a bit of a issue for me. So yeah, that's my spirit allies, which is my hat. It just twists my noggin. Okay, our next prompt is the scarf. And the scarf is your hug deck for when you're in need of comfort or support. Okay, my very first hug deck. Again, this is one that I trimmed and edged. See, I edged it. I trimmed it. This is the Crystal Visions. Them white borders drove me bats. So I cut them off. I left my keywords like I did before, or my titles. These are titles. I left my titles, but I cut the borders off. I do like a borderless deck. But these images were so comforting. And it's like a dreamy, it's like dreamy artwork. And it just gives me a hug that I absolutely love this deck. I mean, how could you not? It's so beautiful. And then my other one, I just got this one. I haven't had it that long. But already in such a short period of time, this has become a hug deck for me. And I don't have to tell you that this is Oak, Ash, and Thorn Mini. I see the little animals. Like, isn't that the most beautiful thing? I just want to cuddle up with her. It's got to be a her. I just want to cuddle up with her or with them and just sit in the forest and just listen or take a nap with him in his cups. But this deck is just, I see what all the fuss was about. For the longest, I couldn't understand what all the fuss was about oak, ash, and thorn. Well, I get it. I get it now. This is a good hug. It is comforting. How appropriate. The Hierophant is the owl. I'm hoping that they create more small decks. I really am. I wish all creators would create small versions of their decks because I have little hands. But that's an argument for another day. Our last prompt is Mittens. And this is your tarot deck for readings on the go. Now, again, this was someone, before y'all send me hate mail, I kept saying that I wanted this deck because everybody talked about it, and they talked about it, and they talked about it. And I said, well, I want that deck too. Everybody else talks about it. And again, someone bought it for me, someone in my family. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So I was saying, someone bought this for me, someone in my family. I kept saying that I wanted this deck so badly. And they called themselves doing something nice for me, and they bought me this deck. And yes, I know it is a fake copy. I have since bought the original copy, and it is Chris Ann's Light Sears deck. But since I have this small fake copy, I carry it in my purse all the time. And this is my travel deck. This is my on-the-go deck, is the Light Sears. People take to it well. It looks modern. It's beautiful. It's relatable images. It's based on Rider-Waite, so it's easy to read. It is everything that everybody said about it and more. It's just the original version and the paper stock, that thick cardboard. I can't do anything with it with my hands. So for those reasons, I am grateful that a family member bought me this deck. But I do believe in giving artists the proceeds for their work. And so I did buy the original to do the right thing. Okay, so this is my winter wardrobe. And let me know down in the comments down below what you think. Do you plan on doing this VR? What do you think of the choices that I made for my wardrobe? If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. If you click on the little bell, it'll notify you when I upload new videos. Comment, let me know what you think. Make suggestions for other content you'd like to see me to create. Share my videos with your friends. All those things will help me to grow. And I'm a new small channel trying to grow. So I'm grateful for all of your support. And I will see you soon, probably in a daily collective. Bye.